coming up
But
on
essentially,
today's
water
episode.
that kind of drips along your foundation can actually erode your foundation. When your gutters are in place, you don't necessarily have to worry about that. But if your gutters clog and they don't function properly, you could get to a situation where, water is actually backing up into your gutters. They can fill up and overflow. And then you're dealing with the same exact scenario as not having gutters. Well, the water's going to flow down and it's going to kind of, it's going to impact your foundation.
This is the You Ask, the Pros Answer podcast. Do you have questions about an upcoming exterior contracting project? We've got answers. Welcome to the You Ask, the Pros Answer podcast. Hey, welcome to the You Ask the Pros Answer podcast. Your questions answered by the pros you trust, presented by Pro Exteriors. My name is Cole. I am the host on the show. It's getting colder outside. I don't know if you've noticed that. The leaves are falling. Actually, where I live here in northern Kentucky, we got a record snowfall earlier in the week, and it got me thinking, my house is not prepared for the colder months. And so I want to get prepared, and I want you to get prepared. So today, you're going to have a chance to hear from owner and president of Pro Exteriors, Rodgers. I pepper him with all kinds of questions about what to do to get your house and my house ready for the colder months. Now, this is a two-part episode. Today, you will hear part one. Next week, you're going to hear part two. So without further ado, let's hop right in. Aaron, how you doing?
I'm doing wonderful, Cole. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well today. It's been pretty quiet around here today.
Good. Yeah.
Well, Aaron, before we jump into today's question, I want to give just a brief rundown of what this show is for people that are just finding it for the first time.
Okay.
Every week, we try to answer a question that we've been asked either by one of our customers, or maybe it's a question that we as a homeowner or as a consumer have asked ourselves or gone to the web looking for answers. And then we try to have an honest conversation with somebody that is an expert in that field. And so today is no different. We're going to tackle a question with the time that we have remaining. I wanted to start with a quick story. So, Aaron, you know this, but some of our watchers and listeners won't. So I moved not too long ago from southern Delaware, where our company is based, moved to northern Kentucky. And we lived near the beach. And so everybody that lives near the beach wants to have an outdoor shower, right?
Yep.
We had a pool in our backyard. When we built the house, we wanted to have an outdoor shower, and it was lovely, but it was just one more thing to maintain and to keep up. Well, the first winter that we were there, we did all the things we thought we should do. We shut the water off to it. It had a hot and cold feed. So I went down in our crawl space, turned it off, just like I do with our hose bibs.
Yep.
Went out the following spring to turn it all back on and turned the shower on for the first time. And water did come out of the shower head, but it also came out right in front of me from the mixing ball, the handle.
Yeah.
I was like, what in the world? So I had to call a plumber, and he's like, listen, I see this every year. I don't know how many customers he goes to. He's like, listen, it doesn't matter. You can turn the water source off. You can run it dry. Water still sits behind there. And inevitably, the water freezes and it breaks the components that are inside. It's like, oh, great. He's like, no problem. I can fix it. I was like, yeah, I know you can fix it, but it cost money just to get our outdoor shower up and running again.
Time and money.
Yep.
Everything is possible with time and money.
Yep. I think we ended up with the same problem 2 winters in a row. I can't remember. Anyway, we now live in northern Kentucky. We don't have an outdoor shower, so that's at least one less thing to worry about. But that leads me to the question today. And today's question is, how do I prepare my house for the colder months? I scheduled this question for today. It's September of 2024. I think I'm just trying to will it to be cooler outside because I'm done with the hot weather. We had this taste of fall last week, and now it's 90 degrees again today.
I mean, it's gorgeous here. It's only in the 70s here. So,
well, okay.
If you were here, it's gorgeous.
All right.
But you're
well, I know living specifically on the East Coast, we have like 25 seasons. There's like summer, late summer. There's false fall, I think I've seen people say, and then
False
there's real
fall.
fall.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
So this conversation could go all over the place. I want to kind of direct us from kind of like you shower. You shower from the top down.
Yep.
At least that's what my mama taught me when I was younger. Because you wash your dirty hair in it. Anyway.
I get it.
Okay, so we're going to start from the roof down. I'm going to kind of feed you some questions, and then hopefully you can make me smarter by the end of this.
Okay, I'll do my best.
All right. The top of my house, I don't have like a cool cupola or whatever on top of it. Is just the roof. So what are some of the things that I need to be doing to prepare my roof for the colder months?
Well, realistically, if you're able to get on your roof, the easiest thing to do is get up there and walk around, enjoy the space. Look at all your penetrations, look at your chimney, check out your gutters, check all your pipes, make sure nothing's clogged, make sure no critters have decided to take up residence. Checking all your flashings, making sure your flashings are all tight, trying to do an inspection to see if there's, has there been wind damage that maybe you didn't notice? Has anything gotten on your roof? In this area randomly, I think we just got a call yesterday in regards to some turkey buzzards, or some people call them turkey vultures, getting onto somebody's house, and they basically they'll just sit there and eat the shingles right off. They'll pull them off with their claws. Getting up there before the winter months is always a good idea. Preparing for a long winter of not having to get on that roof and do any sort of repairs, because winter's the absolute worst time to do repairs on your roof. Just trying to get ahead of all that stuff before, the cold weather sets in. Most of this stuff is pretty simple. We kind of look for the same things in the fall that we do in the spring. The harshest time of the year is going to be the winter. That's the time where we want to get up there. We want to inspect it right before it gets cold and right after it gets cold, to just make sure everything kind of, made it through without issue. We always recommend you do this, every year. So it's just like, you go around and you inspect your car, you lift your hood every once in a while, you inspect the engine, check the fluids and whatnot. This is kind of the same thing. But yeah, so if your roof is good, then the next obvious place to go is the next place down, which would be your gutters. Checking to see your gutters, see what debris is in there currently. This is also a great time to clean these gutters out, not only the gutters themselves, but also your downspouts. People sometimes fail to realize that, all the stuff that goes into your gutters ends up in your downspouts. And although you can see the debris that's in your gutters, you can't always see the debris that builds up into your downspouts. Especially, if you have, pop-up drains or underground drains for your downspouts, and you can't actually see what comes out the other end. A lot of times those things can get clogged, or roots can get into the underground piping. That may not be working quite as well as you think it is. We talk about adding cleanouts and stuff to, the bottom of your downspouts, just to be able to kind of peek in there and check on everything. But yeah, great time to clean your gutters out, clean your downspouts out, seal up anything that might need sealing, your corners, your the end caps and things like that. And then honestly, like if you live on a property that has a ridiculous amount of trees or bushes, or if your neighbor has a bunch of them and that stuff tends to blow over on your side of the yard, this may be a great time to talk about possibly doing gutter guards. If you don't mind cleaning your gutters out twice a year, then don't worry about it. But ultimately, the investment of gutter guards can save you money long term. It does kind of take some of the wear and tear off the gutters, make sure they function properly, and it does tend to kind of control that debris. So, yeah.
So I can remember, it's been a long time, if I'm being honest, since I've inspected any gutters, my own or otherwise. But I can remember as a kid, we lived in the woods. I mean, we had a house in the woods. It's not like my parents had us living just in the woods. But I remember being up on a ladder and checking the gutters, and it was very easy to tell what was in there. How do you
Yeah.
inspect the downspout itself? Do you recommend like shooting a hose down it and seeing if
Yeah.
water
A lot
comes
of,
out the other end? Or
honestly, that's the easiest way. Throw a hose up there, put it right in the downspout. You kind of should have a rough idea of what the amount of water that's going in.
Mm.
That same amount of water should be coming out the other end. Or if you put your downspout up there, or you put your hose in the downspout at the top, and in the process you see some debris coming out, that could be kind of a telltale sign. You can throw a power washer up there, put the down rod, put the rod in
Yeah.
there, and kind of put some higher pressure water in there. That doesn't always give you the best solution. Sometimes you may end up having to, if you're not getting the proper flow, you may have to actually kind of take the elbows off and spray down from the actual straight pipe.
Okay.
But again, if you're handy enough to do it, go for it. If not, most exterior contractors will offer you some sort of maintenance plan where they can come out there and do that stuff for you twice a year. It's usually a pretty small investment in order to kind of keep everything flowing properly. So,
Yeah, speaking of calling somebody, I was going to say, what if you want no part of climbing up on your roof? You make it sound like that's an exciting thing. For you, I know I've seen you eat lunch on a rooftop.
yeah,
I
had a full pizza up there. Yeah.
I would have a hard enough time just ordering pizza delivery to a roof, let alone being on it. So what do you recommend in that instance? You suggesting I take like a drone, or am I calling
You
somebody?
can do a drone. We as the professionals will always say leave it to the professionals. We know the things to look at. We know ultimately kind of the high priority areas, the worst. What am I trying to say? We ultimately know the target areas, the
Hmm.
areas that are most likely to fail, most likely to have issues. We can, for the most part, because we do this every single day, we know exactly what to look at. We have no issue whatsoever getting on your roof and inspecting the entire roof. We'll climb all over that thing with no issue whatsoever. We'll do it safely. We're licensed, insured. So if we fall, you're still good.
Yeah.
But yeah, honestly, calling a licensed professional and talk to them about an annual maintenance plan. It's one of those things that it's a small price. That realistically, it's a nice little peace of mind. So those things oftentimes are outside of your normal warranty. Wear and tear, things that happen naturally in the course of just a house being in the position that it's in. You may have a warranty on your roof, but it doesn't really cover like getting up there and doing the general maintenance things that kind of come along with owning a home. So yeah.
I noticed, our neighborhood is still being built. Our house is being built every day. The neighbors right across from us, I've noticed they're missing one single shingle.
Mm-hmm.
If that's on my roof, is that something that I need to be concerned about before the winter months?
Yes. So regardless of I know we've spoken before, you have 3 tabs on your
Mm-hmm.
roof. It's 3 individual 12-inch tabs.
Yep.
Even if you have one 12-inch tab missing, if that tab is missing, you have exposed nails. Exposed nails, over the course of a winter, they can rust out. But kind of the worst case scenario thing that would happen was water would get into the actual nail hole. And if it freezes, it actually expands and can actually force that nail out, which
Mm.
kind of could potentially put you in a situation where you're losing more shingles. But yeah, I mean, anytime you see a shingle off, it's the best suggestion is to get it taken care of ASAP. So
Yeah, if I'm being honest, I've tried to find a know-it-all kind of a way to share with them, like, hey, you guys might not even notice this because
yeah,
I see it because we live across a street and I have a different angle to be able to see. They
right,
might not even realize it, and I feel kind of
yeah,
bad. But
yeah.
um, all right, so it makes sense to me, especially once the leaves have fallen, to check the gutters. But what is it? What are some of the things that can take place if the gutters are clogged? Besides just having water run down the face of your house, what is it that
Yeah.
I should be concerned about?
Well, so gutters are there for a reason. Gutters are there to kind of, manage the water coming off your roof. It is code that we have gutters here in our county. I think most states and counties have that code in place now. But essentially, water that kind of drips along your foundation can actually erode your foundation.
Hmm.
When your gutters are in place, you don't necessarily have to worry about that. But if your gutters clog and they don't function properly, you could get to a situation where water is actually backing up into your gutters. They can fill up and overflow, and then you're dealing with the same exact scenario as not having gutters. Well, the water's going to flow down, and it's going to kind of, it's going to impact your foundation. The other issue you may run into is if water sits in your gutters and it gets super, super cold, that freezes. Typically, most things on the outside of your home don't do really, really well with standing water that ends up freezing. As soon as that freezing occurs, water tends to expand, and every joint you have in your gutters, every end cap, every inside corner, every outside corner, the elbows in your downspouts, all of those things, every single joint, if water sits there and it expands, it can actually ruin those joints, and just cause kind of another maintenance issue, or worse, cause you to actually have to replace a section of gutter, which hundreds of dollars, potentially thousands of dollars. Every scenario is a little bit different, but again, a lot of this is just about being proactive.
Mm-hmm.
These are the things you're going to do every single year to kind of keep your home in tip-top condition, to get maximum life out of your home. So yeah.
In doing a little bit of prep for this episode, I saw that clogged gutters could lead to ice dams. Is that correct? Is that something you see? So how does that work?
Yeah. So our winters here on the East Coast tend to be rather mild. So ice damming is not a huge concern for us. Now, when you go north of us, let's say we go 2 hours north of us, where they get consistent snow throughout the winter, they definitely get kind of cooler temperatures. Ice damming is basically when water backs up underneath the shingles and it freezes. And when it freezes, it pops, and then as it melts, it more water gets underneath there and it freezes and it pops. That can actually get to the point where it pops the shingles along the bottom, and water wants to go somewhere. So it's going to follow the path of least resistance. As it melts and it gets underneath the shingles, it's going to go inside eventually. So we don't deal with it that often here. The little bit of times that we've kind of ripped a roof apart and there's a lot of surface rot at the bottom, there's a possibility that it is ice damming, but it's typically kind of minimal.
Okay.
But yeah, all of the water on your home kind of ends up at the bottom of your roof. The largest volume of water is right there at the gutter line. If your gutters aren't controlling that water, it has to go somewhere. I've seen ice dams in some scenarios. I've seen fascia get rotted out where the water has to go somewhere. It's getting into the gutters and has no way to get out, and it backs up and behind the gutters, which gets behind the fascia metal, which rots out the 2x6 subfascia, which that's thousands of dollars.
Sure.
There's almost never a week that goes by here where we don't have a repair, where somebody basically has to have the gutters removed, the fascia removed, the 2x6 subfascia repaired, soffit replaced. We've seen some pretty horrific situations where people don't have kick-out flashings, where where your gutter ties into kind of like where the siding is on another side of your home.
Mm-hmm.
We consistently see situations where they don't have proper kick-out flashings there, and water gets in between the siding and the end of the gutter, and it creates a very nasty mess down the side of the wall. So, these are all things that a professional, someone who knows what to look for, these are all easy things for us to fix, but it has the potential to be hundreds to thousands of dollars for you. So,
okay.
Yeah.
All right. Before we move south on the house, we're working our way from the top down. I want to take a quick break. We have a sponsor for this episode. It just so happens that the sponsor is us. It's Pro Exteriors, but want to pause real quick for a message from our sponsor, and we'll be right back. And now a word from our sponsor. Oh, hey there. Sorry. I just got back from the pumpkin patch. I love this time of year. The cool, crisp air, the leaves changing colors, the very real pumpkins like the ones that I have here. At Pro Exteriors, we love this time of year too, which is why this autumn we are excited to announce to you Fall into Savings. Fall into Savings? What is that, you ask? Well, it's simple. With every new qualifying roof, or siding purchase between September 1st and November 30th, you qualify for free gutter guards installed by us. Pretty awesome, huh? That's just one more reason to love this time of year. So this fall, leaf it to the pros. You can contact us today at 302-664-1700 or find us online at askproexteriors.com.
Promotion valid September 1st, 2024 through November 30th, 2024. Terms and conditions apply. Contact us for details. The guy in this ad is a goofball, and we realize that. There's not much we can do about it since he's the one who produces our videos.
Let's get back to the show. All right, we are back. Goodness, that guy in that ad is a bit of a mess, but it's all we have currently. All right, Aaron, so we've talked about the roof. We've talked about the gutters and downspouts. Let's go to windows and doors. What are some of the things? I can tell you I've lived in houses built in the 1960s with almost no insulation or anything, putting up like the plastic inside with the hair dryer. Yep. What are some of the things that I need to be looking for before it gets too cold outside?
Yeah. So, depending on the age of your windows and doors, depending on the age of the house, depends on, realistically how in depth you need to be with those inspections. Some of the easy things to do is if you've got ripped screens, now's a great time to have them repaired. You can't really repair them in the winter. Most screens these days are vinyl. Vinyl doesn't do really, really well in the cold. It's going to expand and contract. It's going to be contracted in the wintertime. As soon as the summer gets here, you have the opportunity for that to expand, and it gets a little, if you've ever seen a screen kind of wave in the wind, that's just because it expanded and now it's a little bit loose.
Do you normally take the screens out at your house?
Yes. Okay. Yep. Some people tend to take them out. It does, some screens do kind of, they don't do great in wintertime. So, rain comes in and then that rain freezes, and the extra weight on that vinyl screening can sometimes make them sag, or it can rip, or it can, pull it out of the channel there. So that's not quite as common now as it used to be. I know a lot of people used to go out and they, take all their screens out for the winter and they'd store them in the garage or store them in the basement, the attic. That's not quite as popular now as it was at one time. Anybody who's lived in an older home, who's ever had storm windows on the outside of their house, knows that you have your glass for the winter time, and you've got your screens for the summertime. So that was kind of, more for that generation of home. Not quite as popular now. Most of our windows are vinyl. The screens are all vinyl. The frames are metal or vinyl. But little things, we're looking at the small little maintenance items. This is the time to go in, and if your screens are dry rotted, if your screens have tears, holes, what have you, this is a great time to do it. The inside of your home is nice and warm. All the bugs and critters and everything else that's on the outside of your home, they can see that warmth and they want a piece of it. So, making sure your screens are tight, making sure your windows open and close properly, making sure all your locking mechanisms are operating properly. These are all things you want to make sure you're looking at, twice a year, basically.
So we've had some windows in the past that had bad seals on them. Mm-hmm. I feel like I could tell that because of the condensation that I saw on the inside. Are there any other telltale signs that a window's, like the actual seal, is no good and it needs to be replaced?
Yeah. So sometimes you actually see the actual condensation, and sometimes your window just starts to kind of get foggy. And over time, it'll just continue to get foggy and foggy and foggy. Most of your newer windows that are in the last, say, 20 to 25 years, most of them will have lifetime replacement warranties on the actual sash itself. So if your window fails, typically you can call the original manufacturer. You can get a replacement piece of glass sent. And sometimes they'll send you the full window. Sometimes it's just the glass. But if you have those seal failures, then call the manufacturer or call a contractor, have him look at it. We can usually tell exactly what the window was. This is one big thing we always tell anybody, because people don't realize what this sticker is on for. But if you have vinyl windows and you look in the top of your window, in the very top frame, there is a little sticker. That sticker typically has the manufacturing info. It has the date of the original manufacturing of that window, and it typically has a size or a serial number on there. That information is crucial for us as contractors, or for, if you're handy, for you as the consumer. That information is what we need to order that replacement glass or that replacement sash. So when you're out there cleaning and you go, oh, the original guy never took the sticker off, leave the sticker. That sticker is we need that.
I'm looking at one now. I didn't realize what that was.
I mean, there's been times where people have 20-year-old windows that the manufacturer was bought out by another manufacturer. It's technically not manufactured anymore, but the glass is made by one company for almost all the window manufacturers. So we can still get the glass, but you look up there and there's no sticker in any of the windows. So there are times where we walk away and go, unfortunately, there's not much we can really do for this. And then you have to call people like, Mr. Go Glass or a similar glass company to come out there and actually fix that for you. But yeah, other things you want to look at is this is a perfect time to kind of clean your windows, cleaning the outside, making them nice and shiny before the cold weather hits. While you're doing that, you can inspect all the insulation. Sometimes you'll have foam insulation. Sometimes you'll have what looks like a little brush at the bottom of your window that kind of keeps the critters out. If those things are damaged or need to be repaired, like now's the time.
Okay.
If you live in an older home, if you have an old wood window, which we still have a considerable amount of old wood windows here, any repairs that need to be done then, like now's the time. Because again, same thing, water gets in there. When it freezes, it expands and it just kind of creates a much larger issue. So yeah, all of this is just about basically getting ahead of anything that could become a much larger, more expensive repair.
It seems like we live in a disposable society where,
yes,
and I've fallen into this, where you just rather assume replace the thing than repair it. Is it typically still more affordable to have a repair done? Like,
yeah.
Give you an instance for TVs.
Yeah,
there aren't TV repairmen as like there used to be back in the tube TV days, but that's not the same thing in our industry, right? Like repairs are a very real part of our.
Repairs are a very real part. Doing them as soon as you see an issue it's the difference between, say, a $200 repair, $250 repair to, you wait a year because it doesn't look like it's leaking. And now you look up and all of a sudden there's a stain in the ceiling. I mean, it could go from a $200 or $250 repair to a $1,500 repair in 6 months and 9 months and a year.
Okay.
So like just do it all at the same time. Any reputable company, when they show up, if you call them for, let's say your neighbor, for instance, you said he has one tab off. When we're up there, we're going to go ahead and inspect everything else at the same exact time. We're going to make it worth our while and we're going to make it worth your while. If you're paying us the minimum repair fee for us to come out, we're going to offer you more than just throwing up a tab and going, thanks for your service and leave. But yeah, speaking of TVs, like my wife and I, when we got married almost 18 years ago, our first TV, we got our TV that Christmas. It was a Samsung. It was a 40-inch plasma or LCD. We bought it at Best Buy and it was $1,500. So we still have the TV. It still works. It does have a line down the center. We have it out in our garage. It's perfect for the garage. But yeah, that was $1,500 back then. I think you can get a 40-inch TV now for $129 on Amazon.
Yeah.
Or close, very, very close to it. So what would it cost you to have a TV repair guy or somebody to come out and try and troubleshoot what the issue is? So yeah. So certain things, 100%, price doesn't really dictate like having things repaired.
Yep.
But very much when it comes to home services, get it done before it becomes a larger issue. And then the next thing to really kind of remember is let's just use the last 4 years. Let's look at, March of 2020, COVID hits, the world goes into crisis. We've seen a 40-50% increase in the service trades as far as pricing goes for materials. Labor has gone way up because, the industry kind of went crazy. People aren't going into the trades. So anything with that's involving like service to your home, those prices are never going to get cheaper. They are always going to be more expensive. During COVID, it was completely realistic to have 5 or 6 price increases during a year. Now things are kind of regulated a little bit, so we're only seeing maybe 1 or 2 price increases a year now. But this stuff is never going to get cheaper. So waiting doesn't save you any money.
Yeah.
In most cases, it's only going to cost you more. So, yeah.
All right. So I know we often lump windows with doors because they serve similar functions. Are there any other tips you have for inspecting doors?
So for doors, we use doors way more than we use windows. The majority of society uses their HVAC system for regulating their hot and cold. Most people don't open their windows anywhere like, previous generations have. So your windows don't see as much wear and tear as your door. You go in and out of your door all nonstop. I have 4 sons. My kids don't really understand the proper way to open and shut a door. It's, you run at the door full speed and you don't quite pull the handle or turn the knob all the way, and you slam into the door as hard as you can and then look at it funny, like, why is the door not working? And then you realize that you turn it and it opens. And then because you hit it so hard the first time, obviously the only way to close that door is to slam it as hard as you can. So that may not be the same situation in every home, but in my home, our back door receives the brunt of the wear and tear in our home. So, but being that that's the way that things usually work, the weather stripping tends to get ripped. That's a really easy repair. You can get replacement kits. It literally pulls out, pops right back in. The weather stripping on the bottom of your door, there's a little rubber seal that's supposed to kind of keep nice and tight to the bottom of your threshold there. If that starts to get ripped and starts to kind of fall apart, highly suggest you do that. That keeps not only air from kind of going in and out, but also keeps rain. If you don't have a covered porch or anything like that over your door, then essentially rain that gets at that back can actually land on your threshold and get inside. And then again, we keep talking about, rain turns into ice in the wintertime. If rain gets in there and then it turns into ice, it can cause way, way, way more issues. But yeah, those little weather stripping pieces are super easy to pop in and pop out, really inexpensive. That is something that we typically can say, like, we can do it for you. It's going to be way cheaper for you to do it. These things are stock at all the big box stores. It doesn't really take that much effort to do it. But yeah, and then other things like you want your door to be, you should be able to kind of give your door a medium amount of effort, and it shuts and locks. And, this is a great time to adjust the keeper to make sure that your handle is operating properly, to make sure that when you shut the door, that it's functioning properly and actually fully setting into the weather stripping, to make sure that you're not having a bunch of air gaps.
Okay.
A great way to do that is to do you see daylight? Can you feel a breeze coming through the bottom? Yeah. So you lose a lot of air, hot and cold, through your doors because the weather stripping typically gets used and abused.
All right, that is all we have for you for part 1 of this conversation. Come back next week. We're going to jump right in. We're going to talk about how to protect your siding and a bunch of other components of your home for the colder months. For everybody that's been getting the word out about the show, thank you so much. Would you please continue to share the show on social media? Simply tell a friend, rate us and review us on Spotify or Apple Podcast. Also, if you are watching this on YouTube, please be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. What questions do you have related to exterior home remodeling or maybe the outside of your home? Send them to us at info@askproexteriors.com and simply place "You Ask" in the subject line. If you are facing an upcoming home project or just trying to get your house ready for winter, we hope episodes like this help empower you to tackle them with confidence. Remember, knowledge is power, and a little bit of research can go a long way. Until next time, happy homeowning. The You Ask, the Pros Answer podcast is produced in-house by the Pro Exteriors team. Pro Exteriors is the exterior contracting division of Empire Construction Group, LLC. This podcast is intended for informational purposes only and should not be considered legal advice. For more answers to your questions, please subscribe to this channel and podcast so you'll never miss an episode. Do you have an upcoming home remodeling project? Find more answers to your questions at askproexteriors.com. Downspouts.com. Hey, thanks for watching this video. Would you please help us out by hitting that subscribe button? That would be awesome. Also, if you never want to miss another one of our uploads, please be sure to hit that notification bell. All right, thanks. See ya.
Say hi, hit the bell so I know I'll see you next time. Smash like